Welcome to the podcast of the impossible. I'm Peter Wood, and over the past decade, I've shared more stage time with today's guest than any other performer. It's Willard. All right.
Good swell there.
I realized. Thank you. I was cooking up intros for this, and I was like, I think that's true. I think that so there was
certainly
a time.
true for me.
Yeah, I guess you shared more stage time with you than with me.
Yeah. I guess you and Barry, but
no, yeah. But I mean, for years it was me and brother Matt. My younger brother, and but then as he got one of these real jobs that we keep hearing about, and also finding. I mean, Michael Goudot, juggler, is famous for saying that he used to be part of a multi-person act, and then he realized that you get paid the same. The act gets paid the same regardless of how many people are in it. So already, we're being a little bit foolish with our Willard and Wood shows. Realize that we probably could just go off and do our separate things and make twice as much with it, but it wouldn't be as much fun. So,
to be clear, we're not saying that Willard has now surpassed Brother Matt in hours on
correct.
Stage with Peter, but in the last decade,
correct.
Probably so.
If we are looking at cumulative, I think you've got a long. I mean, and especially if we talk about unpaid stuff, the amount of shows that I made him help me with in our basement. I don't think we'll ever. I think if you and I hung out together and did shows till we were 80, I don't think that would be happening, because that was a lot of stage time for poor brother Matt. But so for the folks who are listening here may not have been familiar with Willard Wood or heard about it, and so I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about how that came about and the journey of it. So I'll tell my Willard origin story first. I heard a rumor that there was this guy who had been hanging around the magic shop who was thinking about opening his own magic theater.
Yeah. And
we had met already, but as a sort of, as one of the regulars at the shop,
sounds like a crazy man.
It's one of those things where, like, I don't want to do it, but I want to be along for the ride, and be eating popcorn when it all comes crashing down.
Watch the masochist.
Yeah. So Susie, we've talked before about Barry's Magic Shop, but Barry and Susie, who ran that shop, Susie, had given me the heads up, and I guess you as well, that you and I should get in touch with each other because I had a lot of both marketing skills and technical theater skills that might be helpful for this project that you were working on, which turned out to be Willard's Parlour. And I guess I'm sort of curious about what happened before me. Like, I was sort of, I was not around for when the seed was planted in your head, I guess. I was not around for that light bulb moment. I was around after you had sort of finalized a venue and a deal, and then we're needing sort of to ramp up. So can you talk about that a little bit?
First of all, do you remember where you were when you and I first talked about it? Do you remember that?
Oh, man.
It was outside
Was
of
it
a
at the
church.
magic shop?
No, it was outside of a church. So it was, I had come to I think it was the Columbia Conjurers.
Conjurers. That's the English word.
Yeah.
Conjurers?
Yeah,
it's a whole bunch. It's a congregation.
In Columbia.
Yes, yeah.
But there was a lecture I think it was in a church. Was it the church fellowship basement or something? I don't know. Yep. And Susie, same thing. Susie had said to me, well, if you're going to do this, you should talk to Peter.
Right.
And Susie, as is the case most often with Susie, was absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I remember I said, hey, we should get together. Susie said we should talk. And you were warm to that.
Sure.
We knew each other, but we weren't friends. Through the... we were friends, but we weren't.
We hadn't hung. I mean, we had only hung out at the magic shop or magic events.
That's how we knew each other. More acquaintance. So, whatever. Sure. However you would say that.
It's a spectrum. I don't.
And quite frankly, I was intimidated by you. quite a lot. I mean, because you were Peter Wood.
I don't know what that even means because I've been that my whole life. But
yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
I don't know what it means to be Peter Wood.
And I was thinking, why would this guy want to help me? And, I was on a very limited budget, and
sure.
I had this idea that there were you and brother Matt had done your Timeless Deception show.
Oh, okay.
And I'd come to that.
Sure.
And I was wildly impressed.
Thank you.
And so I thought, you were renting a hotel and you were doing this and that. And I started looking around at the time around the country, and there were a couple cities that had like a magic performance.
Right.
And so I actually had started talking to Kirby about it.
Yeah.
Because he was thinking about downsizing from his big theater show in Brand.
Okay.
So he and I started talking and putting together like what might be a 70, 80-minute evening parlor style show. Not a stage show, not a close-up show, but a parlor style show.
Okay.
And so I started looking around, and there was this theater space available that I could get and lock it in. Wasn't sure how long it would be. But I still have this day job, and all these things. So it would just be a weekend deal. And long story short, you said yes.
Yeah.
That you would be happy to help. And it wouldn't have moved forward if, thank you. I don't know that I ever properly thanked you.
No,
so now in front of us and the millions of people who aren't listening to this podcast, I say thank you.
That's why I brought you on today. So and I'm going to lead you down this path so I can get a proper thank you.
Yes, a proper thank you.
No, it was a ton of fun to sort of be a part of. It was sort of billed as a comedy club of magic because you were not only performing there yourself, but also you were bringing in guest acts, and I had the fun.
And my marketing genius, unpaid marketing genius, came up with comedy club of magic.
Was that me?
It was Peter Wood.
Oh, I mean, I got I guess I wasn't reimbursed for some of my time,
right?
But yeah,
right.
No,
I mean, paid in credit.
I think
which I'm giving you now.
The exposure,
yes,
that everyone talks about. So it was really fun to be a part of that and to be both on stage and off for that whole thing. And then I think you and I shared the stage a lot, and then you and Barry shared the stage a lot, and I think we all kind of missed it when you knew that it was a ticking. So the venue that you found was part of a bigger complex that you knew was going to close, and you just weren't sure about the specifics.
Correct.
Yeah.
We knew that it was inside of a mall,
a
shopping mall that was set to be, the company that owned it was set to be redone.
Sure.
But it was unclear when that would happen.
Right.
And so was able to get it started out as like a 9-month lease, but then it went month to month, but it wasn't up to me when it ended.
Yeah.
But we knew it was going to end at some, which was a safe way to jump into this.
Yeah.
Because it was a big commitment, see if the market would have it.
Sure.
Would be interested. And I'm happy to say that, it was TripAdvisor's #1 nightlife attraction in Arlington, Virginia.
Yeah.
I hang my hat on that.
Yeah. Totally.
It was pretty good. And, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think once it ended, you're right. We did miss that quite a lot.
Yeah, and wanting to see what the next step would be, or getting the band back together, as it were, and so I forget exactly the origins behind it, but it was certainly from you and I chatting about maybe we should start just like a once a month at a hotel kind of a thing. And I remember that in our chats, one of the challenges that you had with that sort of comedy club of magic was finding the balance of bringing in new acts that were of a standard that you wanted, but also figuring out
I could find plenty of acts that were not at the
and also juggling that with like, how many repeats do you have? And I think what we sort of discovered was that maybe you had already attempted the sort of model of, I'm going to have the same audience, hopefully, and I'm going to rotate my acts. Now let's explore we're going to have the same act, and let's see if we can rotate the audience more. And so that turned into the Willard and Wood project, which, sort of used the closing of the Parlour as a jumping off point for let's keep at least doing something on a monthly basis.
And we decided to bring that to Baltimore rather than the DC metro area.
Sure.
Because at the same time that was happening, or at the same time the Parlour was happening, there were a couple other starting the once a month in a hotel ballroom model in DC proper.
Yep. Yeah. Our friends Brian Curry and Mark Phillips were doing the Magic Duel show.
Yeah, the Magic Duel
show. And now
show.
you can still see both of them have shows now. So Mark and Ryan Phillips are doing as of this recording, they're doing the Magic Duel, and then another podcast guest Brian Curry is doing.
Has he been on?
I don't know. This episode is out of time, so for our friend listening, this is either a callback or a teaser. I don't know which one it is, but Brian, you'll be hearing from Brian, or have heard from. Anyway,
well, let me know when that airs. I want to catch that episode.
Okay, I will. But yeah, so there wasn't really much. We were thinking maybe we could try something like that in the Baltimore area, and also that was closer to where I was at the time, and you were kind enough to make the drive. So we did that for.
Well, you had most of the stuff.
I guess that's true. I mean, yeah, and we have always the Willard and Wood project started right at the beginnings of the Collector of the Impossible kind of thing, and that was I think that was certainly helpful in terms of if we're going to present a show with the two of us. I think that it was helpful for us to each sort of get a sense of what our lane is and where the sort of contrast and overlap both are important, and so where that sort of all lines up. And so certainly that helped to push me down the path that I was already going on of I'm the guy that shows up with cool impossible stuff that you haven't seen anywhere else, and that made it less of a thing for me to do a mind tricks kind of a presentation because that was your jam,
Yeah, well, and I just had to show up with mostly my briefcase and my lines.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I always had the briefcase. I didn't always remember the lines.
That's even that. Even the thing that weighed nothing and No, it was that was great fun to do that. I mean, just over 5 years is and then
it was great.
We were right on the cusp of trying something out in the inner harbor of Baltimore.
Right down to the inner harbor.
And our first show was slated to be that very fateful mid-March Saturday night in 2020. And I'm retroactively, in retrospect, I am proud that we made the call.
Yeah, right.
Sort of seeing the writing on the wall of like, something bad is happening. We probably should not get a group of people together. And I remember chatting about, we might have to, our deposit might just, and we an email thread about like, is this considered an act of nature?
Right. Well, and to put it in, just to add more background to that, like we had been a year at one location, not a couple months at another, and we moved around to 3 or 4 different spots.
Yep.
And we had just signed a long-term agreement to be at a very nice property right on the inner harbor.
Yep.
And we would have been about once a month, maybe a little more often, depending on several factors within that agreement we had with the venue.
Yeah.
And and we had put up some money, and the venue take part of that, and it was great. But yes, I remember wondering like, how is this going to affect us?
Yep.
And
yep.
To be honest, I think that building, that hotel, that property. I don't even know. Maybe we still have a contract we're supposed to complete out there somewhere.
No one's come and talked to us yet. Although now this is on the internet, so I'm scared. But but we did have some fun doing some virtual. I mean, just like everyone was doing virtual shows. Mm-hmm. We hung out here in the Parlour of the Impossible where we're recording this today, and got a chance to do that. Our good buddy Joel, who is also a podcast guest, and I sort of introduce him as the silent partner of Willard and Wood. Like he was 100%. Definitely wonderful to sort of have, not that we ever have, I guess what I enjoy working with you is that we kind of have that Penn and Teller rule about if one of us doesn't want to do it, then it doesn't happen. And I think that works well in a partnership, because even if one of us is really gunning for it, if the other one doesn't want to, then it's just going to create unpleasantness.
No matter how often the other one of us might bring it up.
That's true. You have more tenacity. I will come to the table with a well thought out, PowerPoint presentation kind of a thing. And then your idea is like plopping an idea in front of me, and I'm like, no, I scooted away. But then like you keep plopping it back in front of me, like a cat with a dead mouse, basically.
Yes.
And
to be clear though about Joel, maybe silent most times in the performance, but certainly not about the planning or anything else.
No, I guess when I say
100%, a part of the program.
Silent partner's not the official, not the best.
He's just not on the billing,
right? And and I've joked like it should have been Willard and Wood and Dwyer, like
correct.
Yes. But it at the very least just something nice about bouncing ideas around, certainly not in a vacuum, but even having one other person involved who sort of knew what we were going for.
No question that I am better at what I do because of Joel.
Yeah.
And I would say probably
same.
He was the same.
No, and it was lovely. I would say, for anyone who is interested in getting into performing, like I hear stories from glory days of guys who would do, the comedy club circuit. And that was how performers in, like the late 80s through 90s would help to get really good, is by doing a bunch of club dates. And then a lot of those have kind of died out. Even though this was once a month, I think it was a pretty safe space for us to try something out. And ironically, even though it's a paid ticketed audience, they're kind of nicer to you than if I go to like a corporate event, for example, where they don't know I'm going to be there, right, or don't know who I am or whatever. I kind of have to spend more time winning them over, and therefore I have to do more damage control if something doesn't go to plan. Whereas at Willard and Wood, first of all, there's two of us, so even if one of us screwed something up and kind of had the problem as a performer, what ends up happening is
he's talking about me.
That's that's entirely true. No, I remember it would happen to both of us where I would do something, it didn't go the way I quite hoped, but then I was very glad to then have you taking the stage next,
right,
because that allowed me to sort of clear my head and get back into where I needed to be.
Reset.
Which is harder to do when you're just, I've certainly done things in a solo show where the second thing doesn't go quite the way I'd hoped, and then there's this weird funk for the whole rest of the show,
And back to one of the things that you breezed over or mentioned was, when people buy tickets to see you, and they have to plan in advance to do that, they're more invested in it going well. They're actually invested in you, even if they don't know who Willard and Wood. Even if they don't know Willard and Wood, they have bought tickets to Willard and Wood, so they're already invested in the success of the evening. Whereas if you're just working a corporate gig or doing, something else, those people had no part. Well, other than the person who booked you, but the audience itself has no part in having decided that they're going to be entertained by you.
Yeah.
So they don't have that same investment, psychologically, emotionally, whatever.
Totally. No, it definitely, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in a good way, I think. Where folks are anticipating how much fun they're going to have at your show. And so I do think that's, again, and I still want to give them that, but at the same time, having a safe space to try something out in front of a nice audience. And then I think equally important, the post-mortem afterwards, being able to hang out.
Best.
Yeah. And sort of, chatting over a snack and a beverage about how things went while it's fresh in your mind, as opposed to a month later, or even if it was a week later, just like, what did we talk about that I wanted to change last time or whatever. So
yeah,
that's a great way.
You would always have your sheet of notes for me.
Yeah.
Usually several pages. And then I'd have my like 2 sentences for you. And then Joel would just out of left field always have some observation that you and I on our own would never have been able to catch.
Yeah.
And, or think about or whatever. And, there was also some positive friction. I mean, several times where we, dug in, usually me.
No, I think I think
it's great.
Some of my favorite arguments, when I say favorite argument, I know that sounds like the lesser of evils, but the point is, I really enjoy arguing with colleagues about artistic things that don't actually matter. That makes it a lot, like there's something fun and spirited about taking a stance on something and hashing it out, but not having it be something life changing or political or whatever. Just an artistic thing.
It's why I'm looking forward to transitioning to this.
Yeah.
Instead of what I've.
Well, and so which your reference, your official day job is going to be wrapping up soon here.
68 days.
Retirement is on the horizon. Awesome.
I just put a timestamp on this episode.
That's fine. Yeah,
work backwards from
anyone who knows Willard in real life will now be able to work backwards and see like, that's when they recorded. Yeah. But the point is, the end is near, and probably by the time folks are hearing this, it will be even nearer because that's the way time works. But
much less than
you will not be free yet. But if folks want to, are thinking about doing something and want to invite you to an event, the website that you have, and again, for our friend watching, it's on the TV. But hellowillard.com is the best place to find that. Social media is Willard's Parlour. So that's WILLARDS PARLOUR is the best place to find you on Twitter. And I know you do some Facebook stuff as well. We're going to be back with some more Willard at some point here. But for right now, I'm going to wrap it up for this episode of the Podcast of the Impossible. Thanks for hanging out here with me, Willard.
It's good. It's always good to hang out.
I'm enjoying it.
People get to hear us, the way we are in the wild.
I think that's what's it's relaxing and fun, just hanging out. Again, we've had plenty of chats in the Parlour of the Impossible, and the only thing different this time is we hit record. There
you go.
If folks are curious about any of my public shows or social media and special projects, you can head on over to oftheimpossible.com. I'm Peter Wood. Thanks.
We should get Joel on here.